Brian, it's been a while since we've had Deniz Camp on the show. You know,
it has been.
Been a while since I forgot to change the background. So look at that.
There you go.
Yeah, like huh? I like that one.
Wow.
I like that one. I like that one better.
You're doing good, man.
Yeah, man. We're in the cosmos. we're always in the cosmos. We're always in space. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good. Doing good today. Yeah. Excited to talk comics.
Excited to talk about comics. Exactly. Especially with this fella tonight, Deniz Camp. We've had him on the channel before. We had a great conversation a little over a year ago. I actually rewatched that conversation earlier in the week, Brian. I don't typically do that, right? But I wanted to make sure we didn't go over something we already went. So Deadwood is off the table. I think we have successfully covered that. Okay. Forgot that we went for about 20 minutes on Deadwood last time. So anyway, tonight
doesn't seem long enough.
It's not long enough. Maybe we'll touch it again. Anyway, very excited to have on Deniz Camp again because the book Agent of World, it's out. It's out there in the world. Issue number 1 is out, and he's got a couple other projects to come this year. It's the year of Deniz Camp, everybody. Let's just go ahead and bring him in, right? Why continue to do this? So everybody give a mighty hearty station and a pop, pop, boom, if you would, in the room to Deniz Camp. What is up?
What up? It's great to see you. I'm glad to come on the show to talk about Mad Men, my new favorite show.
I've never seen Mad Men. Are you going to be the guy to sell it to me?
Please, you have to watch Mad Men.
That's what I keep hearing.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Thank you for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. In fact, Deniz canceled his appearance at San Diego Comic-Con to be here tonight. I just want everybody to know.
This was more important. This was way more important. I felt like I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad. It looks like we're all being photographed by the James Webb telescope right now with this background, which it makes me feel important. Like I'm a constellation, a distant galaxy.
I love it, man. I get online. I'm excited about the pictures coming out. I'm about ready to share them. I see everybody on my socials has shared them. I'm like, well,
yes. Yeah, we're just observers. We're all observers. I don't even try. Everybody has them before I have them. So,
dude, those pictures are freaking phenomenal, man. Beautiful. Absolutely astounding. And it just makes me feel so small. In fact, there's an issue of your comics where somebody probably saw these images and was just like, we're way too small.
Phenomenal seg. Absolutely.
So we're here first and foremost to talk about some of your work and, of course, just to chat with you because it's been a while. We hope you've been well. And we chatted a little bit behind the stage, if you will. This isn't really a stage, but we chatted a little bit there and we caught up. But let me tell you something, man. Agent of World sold out at my shop first day, right? And it was by far the heaviest I've ever ordered on a Scout book. And I was able to get a little bit left from Diamond, right? And so we still have copies. We're still hand selling them up at the shop. So if anybody needs one, you just let us know. We still got a handful. They're going to run out soon, though, because the book was phenomenal. Definitely. Response has been great. So congrats on that release, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's obviously it's been a long labor, but a labor of love. And we're just really proud of it. I'm really excited that people get to read it. And the response has been so kind, very, very positive. And I just feel like we get better as we go. Like issue 1 I'm proud of issue 1, but I think issue 2 is significantly better. And issue 3 is in its own way more challenging than issue 2. And issue 4 and everybody gets better, not just my work on it, but the artists get better, the letterers get better. So I'm really excited for it to be out there finally.
Yes.
And thank you for everyone. Thank you for your patience. I know that you've been waiting. Some people have been waiting for over a year for this. So me too. I've been waiting for 7, I think.
I know. So, I was like last year, you were like, we've been making this for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, me and Brian just recently got back a few weeks ago from Heroes Con in Charlotte. And
awesome.
One of the biggest buzzes going on was Philia and his career. Yeah. And Brian, I know you want to go ahead, Brian. I know you got it.
I did bring it out. Yep. So this is
wow.
the cover for number 3.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's on 8x12 paper too, which kind of blew me away because that's awful lot of detail when you keep when it's smaller. That's even harder to get all that detail in.
Hey, look at that. Station.
Hey, what is
Nice.
up, brother?
Fantastic work. We can't believe you did it that small.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a guy walking around there. I think his name's Tyler Turner. He had a binder full of original art, and he had 2 or 3 more of Philia's pieces, and Cam had a couple more there at the place, and they were like, like this big, and it was just like sheer detail. It was just,
he's like the 8th wonder of the world. Like I'm totally blown away by what he's able to do on those pages. I think he's recently been trying digital. He's been switching to digital a little bit just for certain things, and he was saying it really helps because he can blow the pages up, so he can do those details without. It kind of blows me away that he's been doing, that kind of fine detail work on that scale.
Yeah.
You
just don't want to keep zooming in too much, and then all of a sudden you just you're like way down the rabbit hole. You're like, where am I? I'm in the quantum realm.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it even show up when I print?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was on Akira that the artist Otomo did, like he did an explosion, and it was an area that was just all blacked out, but he made each individual lines, right? Like he made like just a billion lines until it was pretty much solid black for most of it. But I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a philosophy there that people can tell the difference, even if it's real subtle or it's like subconscious,
Yeah. I'm about to ask Philia which spread, because both of those double page spreads back to back are fantastic in issue number 2. Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Issue 2, the second spread for me is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a comic. It blows me away that I get to be attached to that comic at all, to be honest, like to that spread at all. It's insane. It's totally insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. People are really digging into it. So let's talk about that a little bit then. Agent of World, it's out, issue number 1. I believe FOC is very quickly approaching on issue number 2.
Yeah, FOC is tomorrow for 2. And
nice.
So I mean, Agent of World, for those who don't know, it's like a sci-fi spy comic about Special Agent Philip Blank, who works for a sci-fi spy agency called World, which is just a big, giant, crazy science fiction spy organization that kind of subtly rules the world and controls the world. His boss is a talking orangutan. Everybody has like weird powers and time travel abilities, and so it is a bunch of science fiction tropes that I love, kind of all wrapped in this kind of crazy shell. And then the main story is every issue is a different mission for Phil as he tries to overcome these insane threats while at the same time hiding a secret he has, which I think I can spoil it, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sure.
Sell the damn book, Dennis.
Yeah.
Sell it.
So he has a secret family that he's hiding from his bosses at World, and that he's also hiding hiding what he does from his family. So he's kind of living in between 2 lies, and so that's the main tension of the book. And we have a lot of fun with it. I think we play a lot with the form of comics, and it's just a lot of fun, but also has kind of a beating heart. At least I hope.
FOC for Monday is Monday. Okay, there you go for issue number 2. Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Even better for Monday. It's Monday.
Yeah, even better. You got time still. Because if you and honestly, we're not trying to shame anybody here, but if you haven't already added this to your pool, you're being ridiculous, people. Come on, y'all read that first issue? The thing was crazy.
It's worth it for the art alone. Truly,
it is worth it. Then that's what I love about that is, as a retailer, that's a big selling point, because that's how I sold it to most people. I would be like, hey, check this out. Just look at it. Yes. And then as they're looking at it, I'm explaining the concept, and then they're already in pretty much. They're like, whoa. And I know people that love Mobius, people that love Quietly and Darrow, like that's school.
Exactly.
That's what this is. There's so much detail there. I cannot imagine how pissed off Jason Wordie has to be when he gets those pages.
But he's a glutton. He's a glutton for punishment. He loves it. It's some of the work he says he's most proud of. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Jason's done so much great work, but the coloring in this book really works for me. 100%.
He's done so much great work with so many great people too. I love his stuff with RTM. They did First Knife, and he just gets better and better too. And I feel like we've all grown a lot with the book, which is super cool. And super fun. It's
You
like, I
see
think
that issue to issue, like
Yeah.
structurally with the script and dialogue, with the
Yeah.
art, with the coloring, with everything. And those spreads in issue number 2 are wild, but the technique you all use in issue 3, because me and Brian have graciously, we've been able to read the first 3 issues of this. They're still holding that finale. So it is just 4 issues, right?
It's just 4 issues for this arc for sure.
Oh, I like hearing for this arc.
Yes.
We're
music to my ears.
we're gonna keep putting out this book, I think, regardless of
That's
pretty
awesome.
much anything. Yeah.
Well, Brian, you've read it, man. I'm sure you got some thoughts, some questions you can throw out. And trust me, y'all. Like, not like, I know Dennis is here. I almost don't want to say this because he's here. I don't want to make him blush. This is probably already near the forefront for me, having already read 3 of the 4 issues to come out this year. It's one of the best books of the year, y'all. Like, one of the best books of the year. Concept, story, subtext, artwork, everything about it. The whole package is amazing. And by far, to me, and I think Scout is doing some really solid work. Like, By the Horns is great. She Bites is a new one that's really good. I really like, what's that one I love? Steak. That one's cool, but this is creme de la creme.
Wow.
Yo.
High praise. I appreciate that, brother.
Y'all get on this book. I'm telling y'all, you're going to regret it when I'm talking about it at the end of the year if you miss out. Anyway, Brian, I know you got some thoughts, man.
I'll echo that. I think I texted you the other day or something like, this is already pretty high up on pick of the year. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Just so high concept and everything. One thing I did want to bring up, and I do have another question later, but about Haas's lettering.
Yeah.
Like he recently did Above Snakes too, and I've noticed he's incorporating a lot of like really cool techniques that help with the story there. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but at one point the orangutan was a hologram.
Yeah.
And his text boxes were translucent.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
It's brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's always doing stuff like that. I mean, he's always experimenting and pushing it. And this is actually, interestingly, this is the first book he ever lettered. Now, these aren't the first letters he's done on this book, but when he was, I convinced him to try his hand at lettering. I like to say I get 10% credit for him being a letterer. He doesn't give me the money, no matter how many times I tell him that he owes it.
Have you sent him an invoice?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yes, but he keeps saying he's not getting them. I don't buy it. No, but this is, so we have files for the first 7 or 8 pages of the first issue that are the first lettering he ever did on any book ever. Wow. So I've been trying to get him to post that online so that you can see the progression, because he's done, we tried a bunch of different lettering styles before we ended up with this one, with the rectangular balloons. That's kind of not really done very much in American comics, and so he has to draw them, so he draws those out by hand individually, and he can't reuse them for other books just because they're so strange. But so that was, we talk a lot about, we went through a lot of different versions of the book at the beginning to get it just right. I think especially as Haas was growing as a letterer, as we were all growing as artists, but he was growing as a letterer as time went on too, and it just got better and better. And then we talk a lot about lettering, and I always have suggestions at the start of some things that could be done, but then Haas is a real artist with it, and so much of stuff he comes up with on his own. There's I really feel he comes up with it on its own, but it's to support what we're doing. He engages with the work as a piece of story, and so he's trying to do stuff that underlines or enhances what we're already trying to do. So we have this thing, and I'm not going to give you significant spoilers, but we have this thing in BLOODSHOT 2 where we're trying to tell the origin of a character, and just you'll know when you see it. You'll know when you see it, but they're kind of like flashback pages, and he does something there that totally blows me away with the balloons, and they're high panel pages, and so we want to get a certain rhythm going, and he just does something amazing. Just look out for it. BLOODSHOT issue 2. You'll know it when you see it. It's just super cool.
Oh, cool.
When you know that you're working with someone like Haas or someone like Eddie, do you feel comfortable putting more words out there on a page?
For sure. For sure. I feel comfortable both throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, like, why don't we try this or why don't you try that? Because I know that they'll either run with it because it's workable, or they'll say no and discard it and won't take me too seriously if it's not workable. And then I also just kind of I don't know if I add more words because just because I know he can fit them in doesn't mean I want the pages to look crowded, but I know that we can experiment and kind of do stuff a little bit differently, and it allows a certain looseness, like in the way that we work, that I can trust him to take it kind of across the finish line, in his own way. So I feel like it's another element that you can use creativity. Like I'm always trying to have fireworks going off in the heads of the readers, right? Like that's the ideal. And every time you have a little detail like that, a little something, whether it's an incredibly detailed panel with all these different background elements that take your eye, or if it's a piece of poetry or an idea, or if it's the translucent balloons, or what I thought was even cooler was there's a section in issue 3 of Agent of World that we try to do like found footage, like it's from a security camera, and he gets the captions, or the dialogue becomes the little like black bar captions at the bottom, which is how dialogue is illustrated in when you're watching one of those videos. So I just think that's very cool, and I can trust him to do something like that, which is awesome.
Because that anchors like that it's found footage, right? Because that took me a second, because I was like, as I was going through, I noticed it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh, these are different cameras in different places, like doing and it's actually pieced together. So that was awesome.
It's some real cool stuff. And you've been blessed to work with some of the greatest artists of the modern day, but you're working with the best letterers too. I always talk about those two in particular. Like there are other people out there that are doing really solid stuff, Clayton Cowles and others, but
great.
I think Ed Dukeshire, right, is doing some good stuff too. But like to me is like the modern day version of a Todd Klein.
100%.
Doing something different. And Haas reminds me of like Orzechowski doing Claremont. Like being able to like handle it, make it flow. Like Orzechowski is integral to making Claremont work in those X-Men books, right?
He's a legend.
And then the Spawn stuff. Like that's when he starts stretching a little bit and doing some different cool stuff. And those first like 20 issues of Spawn are some of the best lettered comics of the 90s period.
Absolutely. He's a legend. And he's still doing it.
I know, right?
What? He's still on Spawn. That's wild. Workman. I love Workman, but there's nobody like Workman.
Yeah, Workman's great.
You're absolutely right. Like they're both, first of all, like they're both close friends of mine, outside of lettering. So that really helps. Like I can also kind of, you see, it's one thing that kind of fills me with anxiety is when you see a lot of letterers complain about stuff that people on the creative team do. Like, and it's, just annoying things, the way that writers will format a script or something like that. And it's also great to have two of my closest friends in comics working with me, because they kind of just, I can feel confident that I do something so egregious that they're like, what the hell? And like, they'll tell me what the hell and not just doing it, or we're close enough friends where they'll forgive me my eccentricities or my failures or whatever. And so that's really nice. Like we're all really close. Like I talk to them just about I talk to Haas every day. Like we talk awesome. Every day about just life stuff. Me and Brian have always talked about reaching out and getting both of them on. You should. Great.
I mean, like, because there are plenty of people that have actually said, I have never thought about lettering until watching your show.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's easy when you got talent like this. And it's like, what's beautiful is you don't notice it.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to. It's like music in a horror film. You don't notice it unless you're trying to.
Yes. But it has an effect, right? It has a big effect. Mm-hmm. And Haas, I know Haas loves you guys, so you guys should definitely have him on.
Oh, man.
Yeah. We were just talking about it today in prep for this. So
we're definitely going to reach out then, because Bidikar actually one time I put out just a blanket, like, who would be interested in coming on the show? And he was like, yeah. And then I was like, and he's becoming quite an artist. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up with him on socials, but
he's doing some good stuff. He's good at everything. He's writing too. He did some writing that was in the Silver Coin.
That's right.
Yeah, that was real good.
Yeah, and there'll be more stuff coming. He's good at everything. I hate them both, but like they're both really good at too many things. So like, you know, you'll see more. I think you'll see more from both of them as writers and artists in their own right in the future. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And folks out there too, they do have a podcast out there. I don't know if I don't remember how many episodes there are, and I haven't gotten through all of them yet, but they're fascinating listening to. Yeah, it's not just about lettering.
I think I went on an episode of that. I don't know if they published it because they hate me, but then we hate each other. But we definitely recorded an episode. I can't guarantee it's out there for you to listen to, but I know it exists.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to switch gears real quick because not only is Agent of World issue number 2 on FOC this upcoming Monday, but 20th Century Men issue number 1 is. This is your brand new project, Image Comics, during the 30th year. So you get that 30-year Image Comic banner. I'm like, bruh, how cool is that? To be placed on your Image Comic, man. Dude, tell us about that because that is awesome.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm really, really proud of this book. 20th Century Men. It's hard to describe, though. I will say that. So my one sentence pitch for it is Apocalypse Now with superheroes. It takes place in an alternate late 1980s in Afghanistan during the Soviet invasion and occupation of Afghanistan, in an alternate 20th century that has been shaped by real life super soldiers and super soldiers, super creatures, super warriors. And they're all kind of based off of different classic pop culture myth, military industrial complex heroes. So like there's a Soviet Iron Man, and you know he's got like Iron Man. He's an alcoholic, but he's a messed up alcoholic. Like he's an ugly alcoholic, whereas Iron Man is a charming alcoholic, and the nice side of alcoholism, the American cheery side of alcoholism.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that Mad Men version of it.
Mad Men, exactly. Wait, bring it back to Mad Men, baby. I knew we would get it in somehow. He is the Mad Men version, perfectly put. Whereas Peter, the main character of 20th Century, or one of the main characters of 20th Century Men, is kind of the Soviet, like, depressed, his face is scarred from all the drinking, alcoholic version. And we've got like a version of a kind of a, not James Bond, but an imperialist British character who's kind of coming apart at the seams. And we've got a sociopath Captain America as president of the United States. And so I
love that bit, by the way.
Yeah. So all these characters are kind of, it's my effort at like a kind of a realistic take of using those character archetypes to talk about those more like the superpowers of like the global superpowers, the way that United States is an actual superpower in the real world, and the Soviet Union was one of the great superpowers, and the United Kingdom was a superpower. And so using those as kind of metaphors to talk about that kind of those kinds of countries and what they did and how they act towards these countries, basically the specific kind of imperialism from Soviet Union and from Great Britain and the United States. And so, but it's just a big crunchy war comic, mostly where all these characters are clashing and fighting and arguing, and I'm just super, super proud of it. We've got an incredible collaborator, my clever Stepan Morian, who is just amazing. He heavily influenced by Corbin, Richard Corbin.
Yes, you can tell that. You
can act right. I think very European and just one of the most incredible storytellers, natural storytellers you've ever met in your life. I mean, when you read one of these issues, I just feel like you never put your head up at any point, because his storytelling chops are just so incredible that you just flow through the page and flow through the book.
There are moments of it that are like Wrightson or Gary Gianni or something, where they're like etched and hatched meticulously. Like there's so many different techniques on the page.
Yeah.
And 20th Century Man blows me away.
He switches styles between scenes, which is amazing, because I try to switch voices between scenes, and so he's kind of responding to that, and I'm responding to the fact that he can switch so many styles. And so like we really make the book in a super collaborative way, where sometimes I'll write full script for certain scenes, and sometimes I'll just give like a small concept for them, and then he'll turn it into the opening pages in Vietnam. I just kind of gave like some details and a few things that I wanted to happen, and then he turned those into pages, and then other pages I'm super detailed in how the layouts go, and so it ends up being and he changes stuff as he sees fit, and then I rewrite it when the art comes back. So a lot of the writing is rewriting to better fit the art.
That's awesome.
So it's like for me, it's like it feels, as much as any book as I've ever done, it feels, I think, reading it like one person made it almost, even though there's three of us,
Well, that's the point of a true collaboration in comics, right? Because it could be argued that some of the best and truest forms of expression in comics are done by like a singular person, right? Like those are some of the best.
I think that's where you get a lot of your experimentation. I mean, I think the last time I came on here, I talked about Mazzucchelli, who, is just. And
I have read Asterius Polyp, by the way, since then. So
yeah. I mean, I wasn't homework, but I hope I think you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, like
absolutely.
Oh my goodness, you're right. It's one of the greatest comics of all time.
And that's something that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it just had me slack-jawed a couple times. I was just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a genius to do that, but you have to be a genius writer, artist, handling everything. It's coming from one place, and I just, so I have so much respect for Darwin Cook and all the great writer artists, and so I think when we're a team, we're always trying to achieve that kind of fluidity.
Yeah, when you start gelling it really works, right? So who's the letterer on 20th Century Man?
Aditya.
I thought it was because in the first few pages you get a helicopter, and instead of a thwomp 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 thwomp, you get a fuck.
I love that.
That's actually Stepan.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. So he did the sound effects.
Wow.
Yeah. He does a lot of the sound effects on his own. He draws in a lot of the sound effects on his own, which
that's really cool.
Yeah. So some of the stuff is some of the sound effects are Aditya, and some of them are Stepan. So like there's a section where it's actually in the preview where he's a boy. Peter's a boy who's being taken away from his mother, and it's like done as like a black and white, almost like a Tarkovsky, film. And there you have we did this thing where it's like the sound of a heartbeat with the onomatopoeia that they use in Russia, tuk tuk, instead of bum or lub dub. And so that was Aditya. So those are that is an Aditya touch.
Oh, nice. I
was wondering what that. Okay, yeah.
So
So
it didn't. I felt like it didn't have to be super obvious. Like I didn't want to explain it too much, but it's the Russian onomatopoeia for heartbeat, and so it's like he's listening to his heart, and it's kind of getting fainter and fainter the further away he gets from his home and his mother.
Yeah,
and then it comes back later when he gets his heart. Radioactive heart implanted in his chest.
So this is another one of these crazy books that you got to check out. You got to go ahead and let your shop know that you want it, because of course me and Brian have been able to read the first issue, right? That's awesome. I got to read issue 2 this week. Dennis sent it out to retailers, and I didn't have time yet to send it to you, Brian. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, but issue number 2 gets even crazier. And here, so two things
bro, it gets crazier and crazier. I can't even tell you how wild this book gets in like a real control, like a little bit less wacky than in World, but it gets just wild. I'm so proud of this.
This has got like this tone to it. It's kind of like a somber, marching tone about war, right? Yes. And I love that. So 2 things have led me to really appreciate this book. First of all, Rambo 3. Rambo 3 helped me understand the plight of the Afghan people against the Russians and our involvement of it. That's in there, right? Yeah. But even though you got the British involvement, you got the American, you got the Afghan stuff, but this book, really the core of what I was getting in these first 2 issues is like this Russian side of it, right? This Russian idea, this Russian philosophy, and how it's like in conflict with these other ideas like Afghan and America. But and there's even that moment like, we have the same God. So that's why we need to help the Afghanistan. And then we see in our own history how that changes and shifts and turns, right? Yeah. So that's interesting. But I also watched the Mel Brooks film, The 12 Chairs, which is based on a Russian book, right? Yeah. And when I was researching that for a Mel Brooks podcast we did, and then even that Mel Brooks song that he wrote, like, what is it? It's hope for the best, expect the worst. Yeah. Right. And learning about just this is the Russian mindset during this time in the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah.
You capture that in this book. It really impresses me, man.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's always been an interest of mine, just because, as we grow up in this era of pervasive capitalism, right? Where it's difficult for me to imagine a world that isn't fundamentally capitalist, just in the way that we exchange things. And there was really a time where, and especially if you read about after the fall of the Soviet Union, where people were having to adjust to this new world, but it was a fully modern society that had a completely different way of looking at what is the foundational aspects of life, which is your relationship to material goods, that's an incredible thing. Like that, when the Soviet Union fell, there were people who literally couldn't understand, it wouldn't go into their heads why they could not have something to eat, but there would be people with Lamborghinis and literally, $1 billion. Like it didn't make sense to them. And it's such a natural idea that people should be much wealthy. To me, it's such a natural idea that people should be much wealthier, and that, then some people should be much wealthier than others, and that you should have wild homelessness and all, all this desperation, while at the same time having incredible abundance. And so even if that wasn't the lived experience of the people, they were so heavily indoctrinated, and it really was, there was less inequality than significantly less inequality than there was in the United States. So to me, the Soviet Union has always been really interesting, because it has a completely different set of, a different way of seeing the world than we do in the United States, and that I can even really imagine. And that's a lot of the same sort of thing about that's same interest to me as imagining an alien world, except it was a real place. And so you can go, it's not just my imagination imagining things. I get to read about the way that they thought and the way that they talked. I try to reflect that in the way that the characters speak. It's kind of it's intentionally a little bit awkward, because it, as if you're reading a translation. I want it to feel a little bit alien.
And you nail that dichotomy too, where like, so you were talking about how, like, at the fall of the Soviet Union, people were like, didn't understand this disparity that was starting to happen, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're showing the corruption that it brings.
Totally.
When they're like, everything belongs to the fatherland.
Yeah.
Even your thoughts, right? And you're like getting into like all this kind of stuff, and you're showing all the facets of it, which I think is so amazing. And this almost like, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a lack of hope or something, but like,
sure.
The fact that dreaming isn't, it's a pessimistic, like, understanding, and it's stoicism taking to its ultimate extreme, where it's detrimental to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially as I'm looking at those types of characters, like, this book came out of me I wanted to do something that was maybe not nearly as negative a take on Iron, like these icons, but when you look at them, the deeper you go, these are not positive things that happen, and these are not people. Iron Man is a weapons dealer, and there's really no way I can look at that character, put him in this context and not have negative things to say about him. And same with President Captain America. Like, it's just, there's a lot of corruption in all of these societies, and so I think this book ended up being a pretty critical look at these these imperialist forces, and hopefully as you go, you'll see more sympathy with some of the characters without power. It's very hard for me to, give a ton of sympathy to these super powerful characters. And so, but I find them interesting in the way that you find Tony Soprano interesting. I think, like, it's interesting to look at them, even if they're quite ugly. But we have we introduce a reporter character in issue 2, and we have his.
Is that you, by the way? Because I'm like, there's moments where I'm like, that looks like Dennis from like a few years ago with less hair.
So it is. The artist used my picture or my face as the model for the character, and he's inspired by an actual reporter from the Soviet Union who covered the war.
Okay.
So my writing of him was inspired by a Soviet journalist, but an actual Soviet journalist. But yes, he is. The artist decided to draw him like me, and so he became a little bit of a stand-in for sure. I mean, he's a writer, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, nice. Cool to see what are your touches and what are your collaborators' touches.
Yes,
that's one of my favorite things about doing these shows. Brian, I know you've read at least the first issue. You told me you read it a couple times, right?
Yeah, Yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah. It's a packed first issue too. It's it. I think you could almost use it as a textbook for what to do in a first issue, because you really solidly introduce all the characters. Like, you use enough space to introduce all the characters, and then the way you kind of like did the end with the split panels, and so it's just showing all these clashes going all the way down to set up the kind of the cliffhanger,
the twist,
if you will. Yeah, it was just like, oh man, that was just, I don't know, it was glorious.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. To bring it back to Mad Men, because we got to bring it back to Mad Men.
Yeah.
I'm God damn it, I'll be watching Mad Men soon, man.
Something I appreciate about those types of shows, that era of premium TV show, Mad Men, Sopranos, Deadwood, is that they were telling these long serialized stories, but each individual episode had its own set of themes, its own set of images, and it had its own beginning, middle, and end, and its own arc. And it existed as a piece of work and art onto itself, and a story unto itself. And so, a lot of my stuff, as you know, is done in ones. Like, it's serialized as in, like, this is a mission, and that kind of story engine is super useful as a shorthand, and I think is really satisfying for a reader. This is a book where it's not like that. It is one big story, but it was still very important to me that I structure them in that kind of old, HBO TV show way, where you're doing each episode or each issue should feel like a complete thing unto itself. And there is one ongoing story, and it is one ongoing story, but it's not one story that's just been chopped up into 6 parts. It's each individual thing stands on its own as a piece of art, as a artistic work, I guess.
So you're saying everything you learned about writing structure came from HBO and the aughts?
I mean, I'm not going to go so far as to say, but I mean, I got to say, I mean, they did it as good as anybody has done it, I think, in terms of serialized fiction, right? I've learned a ton about how to write from a lot of writers in prose, and prose is still my favorite thing to consume as a reader, just because comics, I work in it now, so it's a little different. But prose is like, I can just read it as a fan, and that's still nice, and so it's still my favorite. But like, you don't see a lot of how to do serialized fiction, and really, really great TV is, I think, the best teacher for that. Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, Mad Men has an incredible, just a story. Sorry,
no, I love this. This is great, man.
It has an incredible story engine, right? Like, I mean, it's an ad agency in the 1960s. Boom. Like, that's just so much. You can just talk about it. You just talk about everything there. You talk about philosophy and psychology and capitalism, but you do it in this really sort of sympathetic, unsaccharine way, because it's not just like, high-minded ideas. It's not academics arguing. It's like, no, we need to be making money. So it's very it's not overly erudite, you know what I mean? Like, it's not overly esoteric. It's very understandable. In a grounded way, I really respect that show. I think when you're doing serialized fiction, you need to have really strong story engines like that. Deadwood has a pretty strong story engine. Sopranos has a really strong story engine. All that. So yeah, I guess I do really like to do the aughts.
KR's got a question that leads into my next question that I was going to ask you. So KR goes, any interactions with Todd while doing Image Comics?
The Todd?
I guess he's talking about Todd McFarlane, the Todd father.
No, I
assumed you were probably more in contact with Eric, right?
Yeah, Eric is the main guy at Image, and so he is the one who accepted the book. I actually he was given the book by another creator, W. Maxwell Prince, who does Ice Cream Man, and so that was
like just one of the greatest comics of all time. That newest issue, Dennis,
of all time.
Oh my God, that newest issue.
He sends me, we exchange scripts and stuff and pages as they're coming in and as we're working on them. So I talk to him. That's another person I talk to every day.
Yeah, you like to weird stretch with me about it. You're like, bruh, I've read the next 6 Ice Cream Mans. Just wait, Rob. You don't even know.
You have no idea. So I get to watch it coming in. It's super. I mean, it's just, I find his work to be so inspiring.
And if in case anybody doesn't know, you've done work on Ice Cream Man in the quarantine special, and it was fantastic with the window and the little girl. Bro,
man,
come on.
That's one of my favorite. Thank you so much. That's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And I think, like, going forward, you're going to see some work that's kind of similar to that, I think, in terms of its orientation. After this set of books, you'll see
Awesome.
books that kind of are a little bit more like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
My,
But I was
my
going
wife
to
liked
ask
that
how
one
you.
too.
I was
Oh
going to.
yeah. Oh,
nice.
awesome. That's great to hear.
I was
She
going to
doesn't
ask
read
how,
comics.
like, how was it pitching to Image? How did that process go?
It was really, I mean, I think doing it on your own is hard, but when you have a friend who can, you just send the book over. And so for the way that I work is I almost never go to a publisher with just a few pages. I like to get the first issue done so that they have a sense of what the story is going to be for almost everything. So when we went to Image, we had the first full issue done all the way. I mean, we made some edits in the meantime, but it was, pretty much 95% there. And that was the same with Maxwell's Demons. It was the same with Agent of World. My feeling is that, I believe in these books 100%. And I think our creative teams believe in the books 100%. And so we're going to find a way to make it regardless of whether, a publisher joins us. However, it helps a lot to have Image or Scout or Vault or any of the people who have believed in us and supported us. So it was amazing to actually get to land the book with Eric and Image. It was like a real dream come true. And it's been amazing to work there. It's been just super, super cool. I'm so excited for the book to come out. I'm incredibly proud of it. I just think it's some of my best work. And it's just some of the most beautiful work that you're going to see. I mean, in terms of storytelling, it's as close as you can get to moving pictures. That it's just so perfect.
Yeah, and I think Image has been really good with retailers. I think lately they've been offering a lot of returnability.
Yes.
In particular, and I think this is one of those books. So it shouldn't be a book that's hard to find, but you definitely want to get those pre-orders in. And if you can't find it at your shop, you can always get it digitally.
Yes.
Or you can always holler at me because my shop's going to carry plenty of this dude's work. You know that.
We have a beautiful cover from Igor Corday. He's a legend it's a B cover. He's a legend who did X-Men back in the day with Grant Morrison. He did Cable as
Cable?
well. Yes.
Soldier X. My bad. It's Soldier X.
Soldier X. Yes.
We don't want to piss off Rob Liefeld.
Yes. Yes. That was I mean, he's a master and he's a huge influence on Stepan as well.
We've talked about his work a lot. Personally, man, I love his work. It's when you see his work with time, because there were so many times when in that Grant run on New X-Men, he was coming in just to fill in shit real quick.
Dude, he was doing whole issues, 24, 25 pages in less than a week.
Wow. That's insane.
That's really fast.
Yeah.
Then you look at Soldier X or Cable at the time, and I still have every issue that he did.
Yeah.
Oh my! When you could tell that he had time. Oh my! It's like Corbin-esque a little bit.
100%. Yeah, they're all. Yeah, that's all part of the same school for sure.
And thanks, because you were the way that I found out about the Corbin Dark Horse Library today. So thank you for that. I just picked up something that he did. I can't remember the name.
Have you read Punisher: The End?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God! One of the great Marvel comics of all time.
I never knew who Richard Corbin was until the Luke Cage series that he did with Brian Azzarello, right? Yeah. And then I was like, whoa! And then I read Banner, right?
Banner.
And then
Hulk, but it's not Hulk, it's Banner, right?
Yeah, I fell right into that, and that's they stole that bit for the movies where he in one issue, Banner points a gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger, and the issue ends. And the next issue starts with the Hulk spitting out the bullet, and they reference that in the movies, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. I mean, Corbin is amazing. His personal stuff is phenomenal. Everything that he does is just beautiful. I remember the first time he did a Hellblazer run as well with Azrael, which was really good.
That might have been the first one, the Hard Times, where Constantine's in prison. It's with Azzarello. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's so fucking good.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I love Corbin. I can't remember what book it was, but I remember Alan Moore did a intro, like a forward for one of his books, and he was like, it basically boiled down to, I haven't read this or seen it, but it's Richard Corbin, so I know it's going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, even Alan Moore recognizes like, yeah, he's, you know, the great. You don't need to read a Corbin book to know that it's going to be amazing. You just need
I
to know
want to
that
say it's Children of Fire or something is the book that I picked up at Heroes
Children of
Con.
something. Yeah, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah,
I haven't read it yet, but they had all 3 issues, and I was like, I'm getting this right now because I've never heard of it, and I love Richard Corbin so much. Brian, we're throwing to the Brian bit real quick, man. What you got?
Okay, well, I was wondering, you know, we talked to Agent of World and 20th Century Men, and I was wondering what influences, you know, like from like prose or shows or anything that maybe you pulled for using those, because I know, you know, you used a lot for Maxwell's Demons, you know, and we talked about that a lot before and stuff. So just
for sure. With Agent of World, it was probably less. So I mean, I guess if you had to go prose, it was more comic booky stuff. So you know, I think a lot of sci-fi comic books like The Filth, it was not an intentional influence, but I've seen now that it's deeply embedded in there. Casanova, Hard Boiled, all the Darrow stuff was I consumed a ton of that to be able to write to Ilya's strengths. That was important to me, that I was giving him exactly what he needed to do his most interesting and best work, you know, and every artist is different. And so with him, I just felt like he's so good at over the top that I really wanted to just go as over the top as I could. In terms of prose, I would say Pynchon was same as Maxwell's Demons, is kind of always a big influence of mine with the absurdity. With 20th Century Men, it's much more history. I've read like, that's probably the most I've ever done for research is for 20th Century Men. I read at least, I don't know, 20 books for that series to get all the voices right, to get the experiences right. Because it's not, for me, that book is about POV. We change POV a lot. We have different narrators throughout. And so I wanted to make sure that I was doing justice, not just to the Soviet Union at the time and not just to the United States at the time, to the voices, but also what was going on there historically, and then also Afghan voices. And that was a challenge to get a lot of Afghan history from the perspective of Afghan people, to read a lot about the language and how that functions, and how to channel all of that stuff, the aphorisms, into the work in a way that wasn't cheap. So that book has been a ton of reading about the history of the Soviet-Afghan War specifically, and then the history of Afghanistan and the Soviet Union separately, and then just like a lot of literature, a ton of poetry, a ton of Afghan poetry, a ton of Russian literature, stuff like that has all kind of played into that book. It's the most textually dense thing that I've written, but my goal with it is, I don't really like to, I mean, I do talk, I'm happy to talk about it, but I don't like to talk about it too much online or anything, just because my goal is to make it feel effortless. Like I want it to feel like that stuff is informing the characters, not that I read a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of that is, I think, really under the surface and submerged. And at least that's what I'm hoping, that you can't see that I've done a ton of research, and that it just seems like not even that somebody wrote that stuff, but that it's just happening, you know?
Yeah. That, because honestly, I didn't know too much about the Russian invasion of Afghanistan and stuff like that. So I guess just from that, because of my ignorance, I could tell that, you know, you'd obviously read a lot about this, because, you know, it seemed authentic, and there were, you know, pointers in there that I did remember from those times and stuff like that. But yeah, the Jeff Darrow one, that one jumped out at me right away, because I don't know, recently been deep diving back into Jeff Darrow's work, and it's just that one jumped out at me, you know, right away. Except it for Agent of World, but I felt like at one point it switched a little bit more to Mobius kind of style, because there was a lot more lines, like you know, in some of the facial structures and everything like that. In issue 3, I thought you know, kind of shifted a little bit over to that, but
I mean,
well, Jeff and Mobius were friends, right? So like, there's a lot of like cross influence, especially leaning into Jeff. I think he talks about that pretty often, right?
Yeah, they collaborated on a piece. Even there's like a piece that they each drew like half of, or like drew different parts of, and so you can kind of see their styles.
I think Jeff may live in France right now because of his friendship with Mobius. Actually, Jean Giraud. Yeah,
I do know that he lives in France. I didn't know that was the reason. That's awesome.
I don't know. It may be. I mean, it seems like I think there's other reasons that are involved. I think
No,
he's like,
it's
France
just
is
for
a pretty
that.
cool freaking
It's
place.
just for
right?
that.
Yeah, just for that.
Just to be close. Just to be close.
What's crazy is that last time we talked, I knew Mobius from Silver Surfer Parable.
Yeah,
You
that
know
was
what
the
I'm
first
saying?
thing I knew him from. That was the
But
first thing I
since
saw.
then, like I've been trying to find some of those epic collections from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
80s. I've read Long Tomorrow, that one. I've read Airtight Garage.
They did
which
reprints of those recently, right? They did all that stuff reprinted. No,
I don't know.
IDW
I
did.
so.
I think so. Maybe like a couple years back.
Maybe, I don't know. I've been buying those epic ones because they also
that sounds expensive.
Well, they are. Well, I like damaged low grade
Okay.
books. You know what I'm saying? So like I got some good deals from Jason over at Heroes Con from you've seen him on Cartoonist Kayfabe. But they what was I going to say? The Epic collections, apparently, even when they reprint some of that stuff, they don't use like his original like handwritten special effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
you're absolutely right.
The Epic ones do, and so I really like that run. So that's what I'm trying to get to. I know Humanoids has been doing a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Dark Horse has been doing some stuff, but some of that stuff you can't find. Like Long Tomorrow, I think you can only find in Heavy Metal and in that Epic.
Oh, run, totally. I mean, Airtight Garage is brilliant. You also have to be really careful about recolorings, like the recolored books. There's a lot of those that really ruin a lot, or at least for me, it haven't worked out that well.
Yeah, well, like an Airtight Garage was colored for the first time for that Marvel Epic run, but it was by his, like he supervised all of that, right?
Exactly.
And artistically, that shit blew me away. But like, I'm so lost on what the actual shit happened.
Yeah, it's really weird and avant-garde, but like, and so it's really just an experience. I'm not trying to follow it as a story. I'm just kind of enjoying the experience of being immersed in that world.
It's cool though, but the idea being that having now jumped into the Mobius pool a little bit deeper, right? Like when I read Agent of World again this year, like I caught that immediately, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, and I'm seeing that in Hayden Sherman's work right now.
Oh, totally.
And I see the influence. We were talking with Stephen Green at Heroes Con. He goes, you got your Eastern style. The leader is Atomo. You got your American style. The leader is Kirby. You got your European style. The leader is Mobius. That's your three right there. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, you're right.
Yeah. I actually bought those epics as they came out, except for 7 and 8. I'm a little older. And I don't know if I'll be able to top this. I'm not sure, but I met Mobius in '88 at Dragon Con. Well, it was called Atlanta Fantasy Fair then, but and he had his the two interpreters were with him because that's why, because they wanted to maintain the lettering style from the thing, because that's one of those things from those European ones that I don't like, because like there's a set of Drew Lay books where the lettering was just redone in like an American regular font instead of that really cool 70s style that has you know, all the frills and everything with it. It just totally pulls you out, man.
Does it look like some Richard Starking stuff? Right, like,
maybe not like that, but but it's bland compared to you know what was there. But yeah, he actually did a little Arzak head sketch in my Epic, one. So
wow.
So yeah, and along with Dara, I've been deep diving back into Mobius. There's one actually that Steven recommended to us, 40 Days in the Desert.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I was able to get a copy. It's in French, but Google Translate works.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like shaped like this, so it's like longer, that book, but it's just each page is a panel, and then there's some writing on the other page. And man, it's like his later work. It is. You need to check that out. I'll send you some pictures of it.
Absolutely, yeah. I need to get everything. I love European comics. I haven't read that many of them, but I appreciate you. Like I haven't read that many of them, but everything that I read, I love. It has its own. Have you ever read a book called Lupus?
No.
No. Look it up. It's phenomenal. It's all black and white.
This is the part of the show where Dennis schools us. Lupus. Yeah. All right.
Lupus. You can get in with an English translation. It's all black and white. Every page, it's just such beautiful comicking, right? It has nothing to do with. I say Mobius, like it's European, but it has nothing to do with Mobius. It's this other kind of style, much more graphic and like simple, but just so expressive. And what I love about it, and when you read it, you'll be able to see this. But like he seems to be from what I've heard and from what I've seen, he seems to be drawing it at a page at a time, where the pages are usually on grids of some kind, and they're larger because they're European size, and each page is like 9 panels or 10 panels of quite large size, and each page kind of tells its own little story. Now that doesn't mean that, and this is something I try to do in my own work, but that doesn't mean that like it's a strip. It's more a matter of like there's an element, like they're having a conversation, and the guy in the first panel of the page orders a burrito and has a burrito in his hand, and then like he's holding it in front of his face for a bunch of the panels, and then in the second to last panel he takes a bite, and then in the last panel he spits it out and he says, God, that burrito's terrible. And it's like, so each page has a kind of a through line where each page exists as its own little like atom of story, and I love that so much. Like there's it has its own set of symbols and gestures, and there's a beginning, middle, and end to the page. And I just have
That's fantastic.
I have so much respect for that. And it's like, you wouldn't necessarily notice it as you're reading it. Like, it's not like, oh, super obvious, but you just know that you're super compelled. Every page you're super compelled. You want to keep going. And like, so you don't, at least me, because I'm a dummy, I didn't fully understand what was happening, why I felt that way, until I started trying to take it apart. And I just, beautiful, just beautiful. It's one of those things where you read it and you think, yeah, like this is what comics is capable of, like this is the level that people are working at, and the level that I need to be working at as a creator. If only to just steal that stuff. You'll probably see that, you'll be seeing some of that stuff in my work now, but it's just really inspiring to read work like that. And I think,
well, it's got to be why reading comics is so anxiety inducing, because you're in it right now and you're like, how can I ever do anything like this?
Yeah. I mean, that's me reading Ice Cream Man every month, where it's like,
bro, like how does he, like, oh my, like that.
Yeah,
I said this
inspired.
week. It's the damn book is just, it's about the human condition.
Yeah, totally.
Like
totally.
that's what it is. And this newest one was, I think I said it, and a lot of people are like, you said it the best I've ever heard it. And I was like, well, thanks, because I was rambling, right? Because when you're rambling about stuff you love, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this was like the sweetest issue of Ice Cream Man yet.
Yeah.
But it was also one of the saddest ones, man.
Totally.
Because the sweetness of life, the sadness is that it's all fucking temporary.
Yeah.
Right. And like, oh my God. Like,
I have a bunch of favorites. I've had a bunch of favorites throughout the run. There was like one where like a person is dying of Alzheimer's, or like stuck and the memories are slowly going away. The ghost one, where the guy like it's like an instruction manual. It's in the form of an instruction manual.
How to be a ghost or whatever,
yeah,
like
how
that.
To be a ghost. Yeah.
Oh my God.
The addict one, I think that was number 2. One of the early ones that was amazing. And just I really like the cockroach one, the metamorphosis play. And then finally, just wait for, I think the next one.
See, here he is. Here he goes.
And sorry to flex. I know it hasn't been drawn yet, but some of the best are coming up, I think. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Every issue is innovative, and it's the entire team that's doing it, man. Like everybody, but like,
so that's not just so inspiring. Like, it's definitely intimidating, but it's also inspiring to see stuff like that. It's like, yes, that's when I read an Alan Moore book, any book that he's attached to, it's like, okay, no, I here's somebody who is really working, and you can see that they're trying to do something different, and that they're using the technology of the page to kind of amaze us, to create these magic tricks in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal.
And maybe I shouldn't say this because you're homies with the crew, but I'm just going to say this. The Eisners are fucking Ice Cream Man right now. Okay. Like that needs to be like, that should be the Eisner darling, y'all. If the Eisners really represent the best of comics.
I don't understand either, to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but as a fan, it's bizarre. It seems bizarre because every issue, there's an issue that's a palindrome. You can read it forwards and backwards.
I know, really. Like, what the fuck is that? The Watchmen issue?
No, that's a separate issue. That's a
different one. Okay.
That's the he is a private investigator one, and that's on.
Yes.
On
oh my God! And then it's so easy to forget about the actual story of Richard and the ice cream. Yeah. It's like who? At this point, it's like I don't even care.
Me too. Me neither. I don't. Yeah. It's fun. Like, it's a fun thing, but it's the human stories, right? It's the individual, these human moments. And Haha, I don't know if you read Haha, but that was
Of
also
course, I read. I
amazing.
made. Not only did I read it, I made that goddamn California cauliflower casserole. I made
Oh
that
yes,
shit.
did you?
I actually made it. It was
Amazing.
really good,
Yeah,
bro.
that is his real. That he really makes that. Like I know that he put that in. Like that's a recipe that he makes pretty regularly.
I actually made that, man. I put it on my Instagram. It was really good. Like I bought
Yeah.
cornflakes. I never buy cornflakes.
Yeah,
I'm a big cereal nut. Who buys cornflakes? I bought cornflakes for that. Like I loved it. It was really
my
good.
parents used to have it in the house, and I used to get it, but just dump sugar on it.
Oh yes, me too. Like we cornflakes, Rice Krispies, put sugar on that
Oh
shit.
yeah. Do you remember Rice Krispie treat cereal? Now that was a cereal.
It's so good. It's a little bit different than it used to be because
I heard
back
they
in the
discontinued
day,
it.
I think I still find it at Target.
Okay,
But there's so many cereals that get discontinued, but some just go regional.
okay.
Like you can still
yes.
get like
like a rogue cereal manufacturer just like refusing to die.
right? Well,
like
you
that
can still get
soldier
Quisp
in Vietnam. Yeah.
You can still get Quisp in certain areas of the country. And I've had fans like actually send it to me because I'm such a cereal head. But all right, I want to switch over here because I don't want anybody to think that we're getting too pretentious, talking about Ice Cream Man and Mobius and European comics and all that stuff. Dennis is not against work for hire.
No.
You got a book from Valiant coming up, Bloodshot Unleashed.
Oof.
Once again, you get the best artist, bruh. John Davis Hunt. Oh, you just got that like recently too, didn't you?
Just today. We got the poster.
I know we've been talking about Mobius, but that is Jeff Darrow influence. What I'm seeing from John Davis Hunt.
We got the ash can. We just got an ash can of the first issue as well.
Oh my god!
So it's gorgeous.
John Davis Hunt is so good. It's absolutely madness that he agreed to do this. Just terrible decision making on his part. I'm so grateful that we're doing this together.
I first saw his work on The Wild Storm with Warren Ellis.
Yes, me too.
And I was like, this dude crafts an action sequence like madness. Like this is fantastic.
Just wait.
Okay. So far, like if you picked up your free comic book day stuff, you got a 4-pager from you and John and Jordy, right?
And
Jordy's on there.
And Haas.
All of us
together.
Was that crafted for free comic book day?
Yes, it was I got the ongoing gig. And then once I got the ongoing gig, Rob was like, well, we're going to need to do a 4-pager. We weren't exactly sure where it was going to fall, just because we weren't sure when Bloodshot was at the time that I started writing it. We weren't sure exactly when Bloodshot Unleashed was going to release. And so that was just meant to be set sort of somewhere after the first issue. And it's him up against one of these escaped super weapons. Which is kind of, I guess I can go into the basic premise of the book, which is Bloodshot is kind of there's a prison break where a bunch of these escaped, or a bunch of these American super weapons and super soldiers escape, and they're kind of it's like an old disused missile silo, nuclear missile silo, and they all escape into the Rust Belt and the American Midwest. And Bloodshot has to go and track each of them down and kind of put down the ones that are too dangerous and murderous, and maybe eventually start to help some of the ones who are just kind of misunderstood or just desperate and didn't mean to hurt anybody. And so every issue is its own. He's up against a new super weapon, a new super soldier. I call them spent shells. And he has to take each of them. Every issue is he's taking a new villain. We create a totally new villain, a totally new antagonist, while at the same time he's wrestling with his own inner demons and kind of the trauma that he's been through as a soldier, as a veteran. So that is, and the sense of loss. He's lost quite a lot, and so it's kind of he's going in all through the Rust Belt of Middle America, and he's kind of seeing all these people who have been kind of left behind and are being victimized by our society, and then also victimized by the negligence of an American government who's not, taking care of this mess that they've made, which is all these escaped angry super weapons.
Yeah, I was picking up. It's almost like I felt some of the same themes from 20th Century Men in Bloodshot.
Yeah. Yes.
Right, but done in a more streamlined action movie kind of way.
Yes.
And if anybody picked up that Valiant free comic book day thing, and if not, I think it's free digitally still forevermore. You can still pick it up.
I'm going to post it on my Twitter. If you want to go to my Twitter, I'm going to be posting it later, I think next week. And you can get it on Kindle. If you like to do like the Comixology Kindle thing, you can get it. If you weren't able to get it on free comic book day itself.
That's why I was curious. It felt like it was designed on its own. Right.
Yes.
Because each page, you're perfectly maximizing 4 pages in a free comic book day issue.
Right.
Right. And Valiant hit big in the 90s, fizzled out, tried to come back, came back, kind of made some noise, but the industry wasn't where it is now when they first came back.
Totally.
They had an extended run on Bloodshot from Jeff Lemire that was really solid.
Absolutely.
So you're standing on the shoulders of giants here. Jeff Lemire, Barry Windsor Smith, that initial cover, that foil cover, chromium, whatever from back in the day. Vin Diesel, right? Like you're standing on the shoulders of these giants. And how did that come about? Did you pitch it to them? Did they approach you?
Yeah, they approached me about doing something, and then I pitched a number, or I thought I might be able to pitch something small, like with a side character or not one of their main characters. But I did give them a pitch for Bloodshot amongst a few others, and that was the one that they responded to. And I kind of I wasn't really sure that it was serious, because Bloodshot is their biggest character, one of their biggest characters, along with Exo Manowar. And so I guess they Rob, the editor, responded to something in the pitch, I think. And I guess they ran it up the flagpole, and everybody seemed really excited about it. And then, and so once we agreed, we were talking about artists, and he said, "Well, what do you think of John Davis Hunt?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, amazing, but what do I think of Mobius? You know what I mean? Like, amazing.
What do you think of Frank Quitely?
It's a discussion. Like, are you just asking, like, as a discussion, topic?" He's like, "No." I was like, yeah, exactly. So he contacted him. They'd worked together before, and we just started talking about the book, and he got really excited about the book. And he'd been colored by Jordy before on Shadow Man for Valiant, and so
that's right. Yeah, the Shadow Man. I forgot. Yeah, he just did the Shadow Man. That was really good, solid stuff from him.
Yeah. So he's, I went back, and before I started writing this book, I went back and read everything that he's ever drawn, including he did a Clean Room with Gail Simone, which is absolutely, it's like a Vertigo book.
Yeah, I remember when that came out, but I dropped out pretty quick. I need to go back and check that out.
Check it out. There's some beautiful stuff in there. And so John is incredibly talented, just super creative. Every issue we have to design a bunch of new characters, because we're going to new locations, and we're also creating these new villains, so every issue has at least one new villain. If not, some of them have 2, some of them have 3. And so it gets, there's just so much to do there. And I try to, you're right in saying I do try to make sure every issue is worth your time. Or if we only have 4 pages, I want those 4 pages to be a full story. And John, he takes already dense scripts and he adds some stuff to them. Like he adds.
I was about to be like, if anybody would imagine Jeff Darrow more prolific with 12 panels per page.
Yeah,
that's where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes even more. We've got 24 panel pages in issue 2.
Bro, come on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like
Jordy's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all in love with the work, and so we're all super excited about it and proud of it. But it gets wild, and I script pretty dense, and so his comeback to me is, well, I just want to show all the stuff that you're putting into the script, every detail possible. But he's also adding a ton of stuff, and it's been a real collaborative experience where I write full scripts because it is, work for hire thing, and they have to approve that. But then he'll add, just every page he adds stuff to, detail wise and storytelling wise and actual panel wise. And then sometimes, I mean, in issue 1, he even adds like a big part of the scene, like a big action set piece, because he's just such a genius choreographer of action. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, when I read his stuff, I was super inspired by on Wildstorm, just how beautifully choreographed that stuff is. And so I knew with Bloodshot, we had to lean into that, and it was going to be action, beautiful violence is how I'm talking about it, or action choreography is a really a big part of Bloodshot, in addition to stuff like body horror, which you'll also see in Bloodshot, because I do think both of those things are, two of the big parts of his appeal is body horror stuff, because you can keep destroying him and he keeps coming back, and then also the beautiful action. Want to do action as vibrant and as kind of strangely, but and viscerally as possible. That's why we have the mature readers titles, because it's going to get, we go all the way, like as far as you can go, we go.
You go pretty far on the covers, homie.
Yeah, I mean the covers alone, exactly. And just wait until issue 2's cover. It should come out anytime now. And it is a deranged piece of art. I cannot even express to you. It's gonna make your head explode. Issue 2's cover, his cover for issue 2 is just outstanding. We have a ton of super cool cover artists, but the interior work is it is everything that you want out of an action comic, and I think even more so. You know what I mean? Like it's a ton of detail, a ton of characters hitting each other, being violent, a ton of violence, a ton of destruction, but also just a ton of heart. And I don't think there's ever been a Bloodshot book or even a Valiant book that looks and feels like this one does.
I feel like it was time that Valiant really needed to make a strong statement, and I feel like they're making that statement this year. They got a really solid book with Archer and Armstrong forever right now. That book's been fun. That book's been good. And then we got Book of Shadows with Cullen Bunn. I think I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. We get Liam Sharp coming on to do Exo Man of War.
That's exciting.
Come on. And then you and John and Jordy and Haas on Bloodshot, they're making a strong bet this year. And I think it's going to pay off, because this could be a solid year for them. And Bloodshot's going to be an anchor for that, bro.
We're treating it like, all I can do is approach it how I approach all my other books. So like I'm putting the same effort and care and affection into this book as I do all of our other stuff. And the team is just super cohesive too. Like John and I talk pretty frequently, and there's a lot of back and forth about the designs and the directions of the characters. And like he wanted to do an issue that was a chase, and it was going to be something else. But if he said that, and I was like, well, we got to draw it, or we got to make it happen, because if he wants to do it, it's going to look awesome. So there'll be a future issue that heavily features a chase scene, and it's been super fun. We're creating it as if it was our own book, and putting we're creating stuff every issue, and I think going really deep into the character. So like if you don't know anything about Bloodshot, it's like we're starting from scratch. But if you do know Bloodshot, you'll see a lot of cool connections, and you'll go deeper than you ever gone, like into his psychology and kind of what it would really mean to be somebody who was his main thing is that he gets hurt a lot, right? Like and keeps coming back from it. But might that leave scars? You know what I mean? Like might there be some kind of a residue to all of that harm he has taken and all that harm he has done? And so that's kind of the psychological underpinnings of that book, at least.
It's some of the same explorations you would do if you were doing a really good, gnarly Wolverine story. Right?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Like a big influence for that book is Punisher Max. That's a huge influence for that book.
Garth Ennis.
I read a ton of that just to put myself in that headspace for that book. So we're going for like, the way that I talk about it is like a kind of in between like early 2000s Wildstorm and Punisher Max is what we're going to. So like a lot of that Ennis, Ellis, Alan Moore stuff from the 2000s that was really like kind of big ideas, but also a lot of really fun action stuff with some of the grittiness of the Ennis and heart, I think too, on Punisher Max, which was it's a beautiful book. I mean, it's a really like a pleasure to read that book. It's just incredibly written.
Hell yeah. You've been a part of 2 free comic book days now, right? With this and the Maxwell's Demons. Yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. Brian, did you get a chance to check out the Bloodshot free comic book day? Did you check? You picked that up? What'd you think?
Yeah, that one was at the top of my list when I was going in for free comic day. Awesome. And because I'm glad you mentioned that you don't have to be familiar with Bloodshot, because I don't have a lot of experience with Valiant Comics. I wasn't getting comics when that 90s explosion happened, and then I've read a fair amount of the Rise stuff when Matt Kent was writing it, because
Yeah.
I just love Matt Kent's
He's
work,
great,
you know, and it was really fun. And then he did that Eternity series, but
Yes.
but yeah, I've never read a Bloodshot comic. It's more just, it's never gotten on my radar more than like disinterest or anything like that, you know.
Yeah, I felt like I try to approach everything like nobody's has any familiarity with it. So within the first 3 pages of the first issue of Bloodshot, you have his full origin and a sense for his vibe and like a sense for what we're trying to do. And then, like I said, the first issue is it's a complete story. You know, he'll have a villain, and the villain will be resolved. Every issue will probably won't do his origin every issue, but you'll reveal more about his backstory every issue. But you'll get all the basics in issue 1 that
you don't have to go over it every issue. It's Jim Shooter's not around at Valiant anymore, right? So, but
exactly.
but doing that one and done story, that self-contained story as part of a larger whole, that's something that you really like to do, and I appreciate that, because it means like even if I've sold out of issue 1, I can still try to get someone in on issue number 2, right?
Yeah.
But the Bloodshot book, is it a limited series? Is there a limited run? Is it indefinite? What's going on there?
It depends on how the sales are. So I mean, it's an ongoing series. It's listed as an ongoing series, and I'm planning for, you know, I have plans for past issue 8 and past issue 12, but we'll go for as long as the sales allow. So, you know, I'm going to keep doing the done in one thing for at least the foreseeable future. I have that pretty planned out how I want to do that, and it's definitely a challenge, but it's like a fun challenge. And with Bloodshot in particular, we only have 20 pages. I'm used to a few more. I mean, 20th Century Men, some of the issues are 44, 48.
You make them before you even pitch them, so you can do as many as you want, man.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. People have to listen to us. Whatever we make, they just exactly.
Like, sorry, bro, this is what we got.
Yeah. But with Valiant, you know, it's a little bit more of a operation, a real operation there. And so we have 20 pages per issue, and so I end up having to do like a bunch of fun structure stuff. You play with structure a lot more, cutting between scenes, and that's been, again, like in comics, I just keep trying to challenge myself and do new things, and so it's such a joy. I mean, the Bloodshot stuff we're doing, again, Rob is so supportive, and you know, the editorial team is so not hands off, because they're involved, and they're involved at every stage and making it better at every stage, but they're also letting me they're never saying like, you know, dumb it down or don't go that far. They're always encouraging me to go as far as I can go with all of it. And it's just, I don't know, like it's some of my best work. Like I think is like issue 4 is one of my favorite issues that I've ever written, and of Bloodshot Unleashed. And I'm making it real personal for a book like this, and I think that's going to come through in the work. But it's also it's not as heavy as something like 20th Century Men is. It's got a little bit more fun to it. Like you said, it's an action movie, and that's what we're going for, is like just a big fun action movie with heavy themes that make it, you know, weighty enough that it's more than just an action movie. But fundamentally, it has the energy of a really good action movie, I think.
Did you read a bunch of old school Bloodshot stuff?
I read it all, baby. I read it all.
Nice. How many times did you watch the movie?
At least 15.
All right. I'm not going to ask you what you thought about it, but
I thought it was better than a lot of people give it credit for, and that it did something really clever that you have to sit through over half of it to understand that it's doing. So like, it's certain stuff seems cheesy, and it's intentionally cheesy, and they reveal that it's intentionally cheesy, like some percentage of the movie into it. And so if you stick with it to see that, it's pretty cool.
I'm telling you what, Vin Diesel needs to talk to you and John and Jordy and Haas.
I'm here. I'm available. I'm available for writing Bloodshot films 2 through 7. I mean,
I think you and Vin Diesel could do some good shit. I think you could even get Fast and Furious beyond 13 movies.
Yes, into space finally.
They went into space in the last one, homie.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
I did not.
They literally put a jet engine on a car and duct taped it all shut and flew these motherfuckers into space. I'm not even kidding.
Amazing.
There was even a moment Ludacris looks over at Tyrese and goes, "Hey man, we made it. Space."
Are they
At the
breathing?
beginning of all this, who would ever thought we'd be in space? We in space.
Did they explode or like from decompression or
No, what's crazy is they didn't do that. They were, and here's the fun part. Even though they're in space, Ludacris is still steering the wheel. Right. Right. And so they're doing that, and they sacrifice themselves by like flying through this satellite or something, right? That controls the thing, right? But somehow they still manage to, like, in this car, this Fast and Furious car with a jet engine on top of it, with a bunch of duct tape taped around it. They managed to fly through the satellite, catch on fire, and make it to Earth and be able to land safely. Yes. Spoilers, they're okay.
Oh, they made it. Oh, I
yeah,
thought
they're going to be in the next one.
Okay, I felt bad about laughing because it seemed like you were saying they were going to die out there, like, you know, burn up horribly.
I thought they did for about 20 minutes. But the most insulting thing, that is awesome. The most insulting thing is that when Charlize Theron sees John Cena, who is playing Vin Diesel's brother, she goes, "I can tell by your chin that you're Dom's brother." And I'm like, there is nothing about John Cena that tells you he is Vin Diesel's brother. Nothing at all. Who wrote this? Anyway, everybody needs to check out Bloodshot Unleashed. What is that, September?
That is September. It's the first issue is fully returnable. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people with how good it is. I'm like Jordy. We haven't talked yet about everything that Jordy and Haas add to it, but you know, Jordy is one of the great colorists of all time, I think, and working in the industry today. So it's such an honor to have her on the book. And
she's great, man.
She adds so much to every page, like the way that she's able to capture light and like the quality of light as it moves through smoke, or it moves through, you know, different atmospheres. And it's just incredible the work that she's doing on that book with blood. It's a very bloody book, as you can imagine, and what she does with that is really amazing. We asked for a bunch of different kind of tonal shifts depending on flashbacks or, you know, special pages that need to be colored in different ways, and she's always innovating there. Haas is amazing on the book. He's doing
Isn't this the one where Haas went, like, wrapped a word balloon around behind a dude's head and came up around?
yeah
I love that.
To mirror like a tentacle that he was, like a robotic tentacle that
man, because I also remember him saying he hates it when he sees like a word balloon break, you know, and like, so I was like, well, this is a way not to do it. Like, it literally wraps around this fucking dude.
And his, like, that guy's font was all messed up because he was like cut together from a bunch of different parts, and so the font was also had like a couple different fonts. Like the lettering was not so obvious that you, and it also has like a bunch of like cracks on the side, like it's coming apart. So he's always doing super cool stuff like that, and you'll see the same thing in the actual book. Again, I think I mentioned it previously, but there's a Bloodshot Unleashed 2. There's this there are these particular pages, and we do something there. It's just awesome. Those are the 24 panel pages, and I think you're gonna be. I was amazed by them when they finally came in, and so I'm super proud of that. This book is going to be super, super cool. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. It surprised me, honestly.
Oh, nice. And I'm sure it's because you like to have the passion in your projects. You like to work and commit to the bit and do all that. But doing work for hire, 20 pages, that's going to help you elevate, right? Because you're like, now you got restrictions, right? And like, not that you ever didn't restrict yourself before. It's not like you wrote an 80-page first issue. But it's hard. No, I mean, the great British invasion came from all of these people who cut their teeth on doing 4, 6, and 8-page stories in 2000 AD. You know, exactly. Yeah.
The best way to learn. I mean, when I was first starting out, the best way to learn was to do short stories, like 5, 10. You have to do so much, and that Ice Cream Man short was like that. I wanted to get as much as I could into that 5 pages. You know, as much, you know, pathos and heart and pain.
Danny's been helping us out, man.
Yes, Danny's amazing. I just received from Valiant some super cool. I think I mentioned the super cool swag. Hold on, I saw
you got the shot glasses and shit. Yeah. Man, Brian, here we are at the end already. Man, this sucks. We could go on for 5 hours talking to Dennis about comics.
Sorry, I'm going long here, but this is the coolest thing
Oh,
a
man.
Bloodshot with a bullet. Yes.
That is badass.
Bloodshot. This is an amazing. This is from the sick and twisted mind of Dani. She created this incredible thing. I am just blown away by this, and it's going to turn me into an alcoholic. Just to
If
have
those
it.
go out to retailers, I'm snatching that up, man. Fuck it, man. I'm like, sorry, this is mine, y'all. I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody else is
No,
taking
no,
this.
Yeah.
It's
I don't even drink
cool.
anymore, and I'd need one of those.
Dani's a genius, and she also sent out ears, I think, to people for the Archer and Armstrong book. For some people, she like, because
Ears? I never got an ear.
It's the I don't know who got them. I think just a few people got them. I know that the creator got them, so I know
that's awesome.
they're out there. But fun. Yeah.
That Archer and Armstrong Forever is really fun.
Super
I'm having
fun,
a lot of
right?
fun.
Yeah,
super fun.
All the books are super fun right now. I think, and I've just read a little bit of what the EXO pitch is going to be, just so I had some awareness of what was going on with that character. And it's going to be super cool. And I haven't seen any. I've seen some of the previews of the covers, and it's just Liam Sharp, man.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Liam since Death's Head 2, bro. Like 12 years old, be like, bro, this is the coolest comic I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? This
Green
is
Lantern,
awesome.
so good. His Green Lantern run recently, so good.
Yeah, with Grant.
Thank you, Dani. Thank you, Dani. Yeah. Oh, okay, awesome, man. We could talk for hours, Dennis. This has been a long time coming. Coming back. Thank you so much. Dude, of course. And man, we could just keep going on. I just want to remind everybody right now, FOC on Monday for 20th Century Men #1. You definitely want to get on that from Image Comics. Also, Agent of World #2. Number 2s are always significantly less ordered than number 1s. So that's your time. I'm going to order plenty. So there you go.
If you like number 1, issue 2 is significantly better. If you didn't like number 1, issue 2 is significantly better. It's my favorite issue. It's my favorite issue of the first 4 issues for sure. I really think we hit on something really cool on that one. So check it out. I'm really proud of it. You don't need to read issue 1 to get issue 2. Issue 2 will stand on its own. Check it out. I think you're gonna love it. And then Bloodshot in September. Come join us. We're gonna do Beautiful Violence.
Yo, I'm telling you, I cannot wait for these books to drop in front of your eyes, because I was waiting over a year for Agent of World to drop in front of your eyes. So many people were like, what the hell? In fact, my buddy Manny, who likes to do these 60-second Instagram comic reviews, I was like, hey man, promise me you read Agent of World #1 3 times before you do your review. So he's still working on it, but like,
I appreciate that.
I'm telling you, man,
demands the attention.
We love books that are worth our money. Books that you reread and want to reread and pick up more when you reread are worth your fucking money. Dennis makes books worth your money. That's why we have him here. We're
trying.
And I did want to point out, like, you can go get Maxwell's Demons. Trade too. And it's one of my favorite comics of all time. I actually lent it to a friend at lunch today. I met him for lunch, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't think he's read this.
Proselytizing. I appreciate you.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm super proud of that book. I think it holds up. Every issue of that is also standalone. It has I guess that's a theme in my work. I think so far I've been really lucky to make things with incredible people and stuff that I'm really proud of. And I just want to keep doing that. And so far, so good. So thank you so much for supporting me and having me on. It was always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Any damn time, Dennis. And of course, there's a lot of Dennis coming up, but Dennis is still working on more. So it's going to be awesome, y'all.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brian, thank you so much for being here. Of course, you out there in the PCP Army, thank you for being here. And Dennis, thank you for taking time out of your day away from your chickens and your family and coming here and chatting with us yet again. Absolutely. This has been fantastic. So everybody, if you've ever done anything I've asked of you, check out all 3 of these books. And of course, Maxwell's Demons, if you haven't already. If I haven't sold you on that yet, I have not done my